I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order, November 10th, 2020, via Zoom. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Foster.
Present.
Gross.
Here.
Wynn.
Present.
Dodds.
Present.
Goodrich.
Here.
All council members are present, as is the mayor, the city clerk, city attorney, city administrator, and several other city staff members. Good to see everyone this evening. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with one change, and that is to delete item 22B, B as in boy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved by seconded by Gross. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
The motion is approved for the agenda. It's my honor this evening to have two proclamations I'd like to read. I'll take them in the order that they're on the agenda. They're both very meaningful to me, but I will have to declare that the first one is near and dear to my heart, having spent about 22 years in the injury prevention field, and many of those 22 working with Pam Hugerworth, who will be joining us after I read the proclamation. So it's my honor. City of Coralville proclamation. Whereas injuries are the leading cause of death and disability to U.S. children 1 to 18 years old. And whereas unintentional injuries are the leading cause of death for children in the state. And whereas while the number of injuries and deaths vary across the state, every city in Iowa is impacted by these events. And whereas many of these injuries and deaths are preventable with the use of injury prevention education and equipment and the implementation of strong legislation. And whereas hospitals, state agencies, city governments, community organization, and other partners are crucial in promoting safe practices. And whereas the city of Coralville is committed to promoting efforts in reducing injuries among children. Now, therefore, I, John A. Lundell, Mayor of the city of Coralville, do hereby proclaim November 18th, 2020 to be National Injury Prevention Day in the city of Coralville, and urge all residents to participate in activities that help educate and promote the importance of pediatric injury prevention. Signed this 10th day of November 2020, John A. Lundell, Mayor. So it's my honor to welcome via Zoom tonight Pam Hugerworth. She is one of a strong team at the University of Iowa at the Children's Hospital, as well as in the College of Public Health in the field of injury prevention. And Pam, please say a few words, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank Mayor Lundell, John, as I know you, and the rest of this Coralville City Council for supporting this proclamation. It's so apropos, John, that you were able to accept and read it because it has been a field that you've been so passionate about and spent so many years doing what we try to do, and that's prevent injuries. And certainly I have a pediatric focus of preventing injuries. What we've done is there's about 40 children's hospitals in the country, and we've decided to do this inaugural event to hopefully shed light on the importance of how many of these injuries could actually be prevented. And so that's what we're doing, is rallying the troops around the state, and every state is doing their own thing on November 18th to, again, hopefully bring light and shed some light on the importance of choosing safer behaviors sometimes, because so many of these injuries could be prevented. So again, I want to thank you for supporting this, and we look forward to doing some exciting things in the community on that day.
Thank you, Pam. I know one of the efforts that they're being done statewide is trying to, in the evenings, turn on green lights, I believe, symbolically use green lighting. And I know, pretty sure in Coralville, our newest roundabout down in front of the Extreme Arena has the ability to change colored lights. So I think we're gonna do our best to turn that roundabout lights in there green on the evening of November 18th. So And if
Yeah,
we can find any other way to do it, we'll do that as well. Maybe all the traffic lights, turn them green. I don't know.
There you go. Just let
We don't
everybody.
want to cause any crashes.
That's true. That'd work against what we're trying to do. Thanks again, and I really appreciate your support in this, and I look forward to continuing that support.
You bet. Thank you, Pam. Say hello to all my friends.
I will.
Okay. Equally, I'm pleased to have the second proclamation this evening, and that's regarding National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. And whereas hunger and homelessness remain one of our nation's most pressing domestic issues, and whereas this proclamation is an endeavor to educate and promote awareness about issues surrounding hunger and homelessness, and to inspire action and the advocacy on behalf of people with food insecurities and who lack a permanent home. Whereas the plight of hunger and homelessness is an issue faced daily by hundreds of men, women, and children throughout our community. And whereas food insecurity and hunger stem from poverty and the lack of reliable income sources. And whereas homelessness is the result of a complex set of circumstances that push people into poverty and force impossible choices between food, shelter, and other basic needs. And whereas there are many organizations committed to sheltering and providing supportive services, as well as meals and food supplies to people in need, such as the membership of the local Homeless Coordinating Board. And whereas there have been a steady progress to end hunger and homelessness through the collaborative efforts of our community, and we continue to work towards developing resources and capacity to meet the needs of people who are homeless and hungry, and thereby offer them hope, opportunity, and dignity. Now, therefore, I, John A. Lundell, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Coralville, do hereby proclaim November 16th through the 20th, 2020, to be National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in Coralville, Iowa, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing the important role we each can play in making a difference in the lives of men, women, and children who experience hunger and homelessness in our community. Again, a very powerful proclamation, and I'd like to welcome a familiar face, Chrissy Kanganali, hopefully I pronounced that well, to accept this proclamation tonight. Chrissy?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all council members. I'm here in a dual role this evening, both as the Executive Director of Shelter House and as the Chair of the Local Homeless Coordinating Board. The Local Homeless Coordinating Board is a coalition dedicated to preventing homelessness and improving the lives of persons experiencing homelessness through education, advocacy, and the strategic use of resources. We have participation from everyone from law enforcement, the Housing Authority, the county, and local nonprofits, including Iowa Legal Aid, Shelter House, DVIP, HACAP. It's about 20 different not-for-profits that we meet monthly and collaborate on initiatives, local initiatives and responses to homelessness. In recent years, the coalition, the Local Homeless Coordinating Board, has worked on such endeavors as the temporary winter shelter, Cross Park Place, and Rentwise, which is a tenant education series that prevents and prepares households for successful renting experience. And most importantly, during this COVID response period, coordinated entry, through which about a dozen service providers collaborate to prioritize households most in need of assistance to ensure all people experiencing a housing crisis have fair, equal access and are quickly identified, assessed for, referred, and connected to housing assistance based on their strengths and needs. Our most recent emphasis has been expanding coordinated entry to not only address folks that are entering homelessness and needing service, but also looking very importantly at homeless prevention. There's been significant increase in homeless prevention resources and eviction prevention resources, which are available throughout Johnson County for households throughout Johnson County. And these resources are, as I mentioned, prioritized and made available through that coordinated entry process, which we have about 10 different providers that are meeting twice a week now to ensure that we're doing the best possible work that we can to prevent people entering homelessness and then move people rapidly out of homelessness into the safety and stability of their own homes. I want to thank you all for your continued support and leadership, and also provide an update. A couple of months ago, several months ago now, the City Council of Coralville signed on to and sent a letter in opposition to HUD's proposed rule change that would have rescinded equal access protections that were implemented in their 2016 ruling, which would have limited access for LGBTQ populations to the essential services of emergency shelter. Your letter was heard and received, and HUD received over 66,000 responses opposing this proposed rule change. They are required to respond to each and every one of us in our responses. And I just want to thank you for joining us. It meant a great deal to everyone in our community that works with this population. Collectively, we're making a significant impact on the lives of many, preventing homelessness in the wake of this pandemic and moving men, women, and children out of homelessness into the safety and stability of their own homes. And I'm so deeply grateful for your continued support and leadership in these endeavors. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chrissy, for all your work for many, many years in our community. You've really made a difference. You're a great leader.
Thank you. It's a joy and a privilege.
And to both Chrissy and Pam, the clerk will get a nice copy of both of these resolutions, which I will sign probably on Thursday, since tomorrow's Veterans Day, and we'll make sure that you get a nice formal copy of the actual proclamation. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move on now to citizen comments. This is a time on the agenda for anyone either joining us via Zoom or down at City Hall that would like to speak to an item that's not already on the agenda. Do we have any speakers this evening?
Kelly, is there anyone there for citizen comments? No one's present for citizen comments.
Okay. I know we have a couple guests that will be joining us for item number 8, but we'll work them in when we get to that item. Okay, I will move on then, if there's no comments, to an update. Item 6, Veterans Memorial Update. I think we have the esteemed Rex Brandstetter is going to be speaking to us tonight. And some other members of the committee, I think, are joining via Zoom, including someone that's very close to me here.
Hit the space bar, Rex.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and the staff and fellow committee members. I'm Rex Brandstetter, and I'm here this evening representing on behalf of the Veterans Memorial Project in the city of Coralville, and it's
there we go. Got it. Okay.
all right. Greetings, Mayor, Council, and staff. And my name's Rex Brandstetter. I'm here representing the Coralville, the Veterans Project of Coralville, and I have some fellow staff, fellow committee members here with me this evening. And it's my pleasure to be here to bring you the update on the new Veterans Memorial being built and under construction as we speak at the entrance to our own Oak Hill Cemetery up on First Avenue Hayden Fry Way. The committee, past and present, has been working hard to locate, construct, and offer a beautiful, fitting memorial, not only Coralville residents, but to all those who have served our country. Men and women in all branches of our armed forces, living or past, will be honored. We have raised funds and continue to raise funds corporately, civically, and from the public. To date, we have realized $73,000 for in-kind work on site, $74,000 for contracted work, and we are in the process of raising an additional $207,000 for the remaining parts of the project. Total raise so far is $107,205, and our current fund balance is $88,706. The campaign brick sales, we'll talk about shortly, are right at $9,000. So I think I sold 3 today, so right at $10,000. We'll talk about that. Now, a reminder, like the mayor chatted about, tomorrow is Veterans Day in America, the remembrance of the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Remember your history, which was on the 11th month, the 11th hour, the 11th day of at the end of World War, 1921, I believe, at the end of World War I. That day is known as Veterans Day, which is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, our Veterans Committee, along with the Color Guard from Walter Johnson, Post 721 of the Coralville American Legion, will be at the new memorial to mark the exciting next phase of construction. The masonry work will begin around the outside. What we see right now is just a cement forms which have been peeled off, and the foundation is really there. So it's not really eye appealing and doesn't draw your eye too good, but once we get started, it's really going to take a nice look to the public, and that's going to start. The color guard will be there tomorrow. We'll be on our Facebook page, so we can add that into our website. Actually, to mark the beginning, we're going to lay the first brick tomorrow from the American Legion Post 721 right here in Coralville. Bricks can be purchased with the name of your veteran, maybe your mother, your father, your grandfather, maybe even you if you're a veteran. Now, veterans aren't ones to stand up and buy something for themselves and honor themselves. So if you have someone in your family who might not want to do that, I think it's good to have a little meeting and get their name on a brick for posterity reasons. We would invite you to visit the site soon, and we would invite you to consider purchasing a brick for someone, a friend, or in your family. And we are easily available here at through City Hall to get a hold of myself and or members of the committee. And our brick chair is Diana Lundell, and she's doing a wonderful job getting us all organized and meeting with the contractors along with Sherry Proud from the staff. It's been quite a deal. It's not just go dig a hole and put up a memorial. It's way beyond that. We've had great responses from area contractors who want to be part of the memorial, who want to have their staff work there. And when you talk to the guys, most of the men working up there, they'll work overtime anytime because they want to be part of this Veterans Memorial Project. Next week, we will see the masonry contractor on site to install the front brick veneer and more interior masonry work. And coming soon will be the bricks themselves. And the bricks sell for $250, $350, and $450. And then we get into the corporate dollars, which range in anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. And yes, we've had people pay more than that for recognition for other veterans. It's quite heartwarming and heartfelt to see what's happening up there, and will continue to happen. And I should tell you, when we started this committee, some of the guys who started are gone now, but we worked long and hard to find the best site available. And I have to say to you that the cooperation with the city of Coralville and the offer from the city to provide that site, if you will, on exit 242, right next to the Iowa Firefighters Memorial, people get off the interstate to see that, and now they can come here right there, and we'll soon be able to see the Veterans Memorial, a wonderful thing, a wonderful asset to the city of Coralville via memorials to firefighters and veterans. So I just want you to know again that we are all excited about this, and this is a heartfelt thing. In our investigation, we realized that the city of Coralville was right up there amongst the cities in the state of Iowa that did not have a Veterans Memorial, and we just thought we were missing the boat, and rightfully so. That's why all this hard work is going in them. So at this time, we'd like to show you some, for the lack of a high-tech word, slides, and we'll take a look so you can see the project itself. This is a view if you're coming heading south on First Avenue and you want to turn and go west on Russell Slade Boulevard. This is going to be the view, and I want you to see that the big where you would stand, like the large area there, the flooring area. Those are the bricks. Those would have like John W. Smith, United States Army, WW2 or Vietnam, things like that. That's what they'll be there, and we've sold $10,000. This is some site work on better days this summer. As you can see, this is laid out by architects and engineers. this entire project is done according to Hoyle for sure. There's a good side view as we're walking there we're walking eastbound here, and the areas you see, that's all cement that's been poured, those open areas that look like sidewalks, this big open area. Those will have larger entryway there with people's names and different sizes for the different amounts of giving that people do. Their landscaping will come next year. Here are some of the contractors that have been donated their materials and their manpower. Mortensen Construction, Peterson Contractors, and Hawkeye Ready Mix for sure. There's a sign of Veterans Memorial coming soon, and be a part of honoring our veterans. That's where we're at, and it's our pleasure to be here this evening and bring this to you. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and all of us, I'm not a veteran, I'm just working on this to make sure they all get what they deserve from the public. There's a really good call out, all the different brick sizes. That circle will be Patriot Circle. We're relocating the flagpole. That Patriot Circle, that's for the donations that start at $5,000. And yes, we have several. There you go. We'd like to thank Max and Masonry and Country Landscape for their donations of impartial kind services worth $35,000. Tomorrow at 1:15 at that site, Oak Hill Cemetery, the color guard will be there to lay the first brick. And we should let you know that on Memorial Day 2021, at the Memorial Day observance, we will have all kinds of bricks in place. Flagpole will be in place, and by that time, the landscaping will be in place. It'll just look like $1 million and really be just exactly what we set out to do some 8 years ago. So there's our sites, and there's the Veterans Memorial Committee. And Gary Kinsinger's here with me tonight off camera, and Megan is part of it, and Kelly Hayworth, and Sherry Proud, Keith Jones, and Diana Lundell, Henry Herwig, and Rex. So my pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Rex, and thank you to the committee for 8 years of hard work, but it's really paying off, and it's
Yes,
richly deserved for the great addition to the community, and great timing for tomorrow with Veterans Day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more, item 7, one more presentation. This is on our great partner, the Iowa Children's Museum. And Jeff Capps, the Executive Director, is going to speak with us this evening. Jeff, good to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor, and council and staff. So many friendly faces and familiar folks. So thank you for having me tonight. And it feels weird being in front of this group and not playing as we normally do in September with our Playvolution event. I think last year we serenaded the mayor, and that was a lot of fun with our kazoo choir, Jill. So lots of fun. So we're just going to have to, I don't know, we'll regroup next year, but it's really good to be with all of you tonight, and hope all of you are doing well. So John, if you can go ahead and pull up the presentation. I'd like to just walk you through some slides here and share a little bit of an update with the Iowa Children's Museum, and just thank you all for the work that you are continuing to do in supporting us. And we are hard at work doing our best to navigate this pandemic, as everyone is. As you can see here, we are open and masked up, and just continuing to try to provide these essential early childhood play experiences that we have been doing now for 21 years with you all's support and the support of so many others in the community. So John, if you can slide back to that last one there. I just wanted to update you all in terms of what we're doing in the museum. We've been open since mid-July, and you can see smiles under those masks. It's been a lot of fun to be back in the museum after 4 months closed. We're very limited capacity. It's been a struggle, as you can imagine, just trying to continue to make ends meet and make this thing work. But we feel that we're providing really a service to the community that we think is as essential now as ever in terms of giving kids and families this play experience and playing to learn. So definitely smiles under those masks, and families making connections. Our typical mantra that many of you know is thank you for coming to play today. So every time I'm out on the floor and thanking folks for being there. Usually the response, especially nowadays, is thank you. Thank you for doing this as safely as you possibly can and giving our family this opportunity. And that obviously means a lot. We continue to operate the Guest Welcome Center. So good to see Ellen on the webinar tonight, and thankful to Ellen for all of her support in that work that we're doing with the city as well. So next slide, John. So obviously we're doing the work in the museum and doing our best to provide those critical services to folks, and happy to be doing it. But we've also been really grateful for the opportunity with our creative staff to pivot into doing some other things as well. So we're calling that kind of alternative programming ICM to go, as you can see on the website page there, and doing very well with a lot of those aspects. The play packs is something that was just kind of imagined back in over the summer, and trying to figure out some other ways that we could serve families at home who weren't ready to come back to the museum for obvious reasons. Those have gone very well. We've sold over 100 of those and made a lot of them available to the community as well through our accessibility and outreach programs, some folks who have supported that. So really some neat ways in which we've been able to pivot to some different kinds of programming. Also thankful to Sherry and Kelly Hayworth as well for working with us to try to make some on-site drop-off programs available through the NEST program, and some programming that we're still looking to get off the ground. It's been a bit of a challenge, as you all probably know, with families having so many different challenges and wondering what's safe and what can we do, what should we do. And so we're eager to look at going into the new year, what kinds of programming we can craft to meet the needs of the community. And that seems to be changing on an almost daily or weekly basis. So more to come from us on that. I also wanted to share with you tonight, though, an update on our Move It, Dig It, Do It event, which we did this year, not in September, unfortunately, but we were able to do it on October 4th. You can see a happy young man there poking out of his parents' sunroof. We did it as a drive-through event, which you all might have heard about, and just had a great time. So if you'll advance, John, I'll share some of the some more photos there. You can see we had some inflatable, a T-Rex and a squid. Just had an awesome time having people drive through. And if you see on the far right there of the screen, you see one of our new I Spy experiences. So we're calling this the ICM ICMs. Thank you, John. And you're going to see these popping up all over the community. We had a little bit of a preview at the Move It, Dig It, Do It event, and so be on the lookout for that. Really a fun aspect. Again, this was all just kind of imagined over the course of the past 6 months here, where we're looking for ways to reach the community and provide some fun play experiences for folks outside the walls of the museum. Next slide, John. So I want to share some of the results of that event. And again, thank you all for sponsoring that, for championing that. My great friend Jill Dodds, just always going to bat for us and looking for ways to support. So thank you, Jill, and thank you to all of you who have supported that. I know Eric Fisher's on the call, provided us some great resources for that event. Chief Crone as well, and many others. So thank you all very, very much. A couple of stats by the numbers here for that event. 20 plus vehicles and pieces of equipment displayed. We had 550 cars in 5 hours, 175 in the first hour alone. So I think the mall was stressing a little bit because we had cars lined up all the way to the other side of the mall in front of Shields there, but we got people through. They had a great time. Generated over $12,000 in cash support, which, as you can imagine, we are in great need of right now. So that was a huge plus for us. $10,000 of in-kind support. And then folks just there, we don't usually do this as a big fundraiser on site, but we just put it out there and folks responded. Over $1,300 in donations just with very minimal effort. And I think most importantly, one great free community event. Again, you can't imagine the kinds of comments that we were getting as people came through. I think some of the parents were just as excited as the kids to be experiencing this, because we're so frustrated and sad about things continuing to be canceled. And so to have something that felt safe and really brought the community together in a different way, but in a great way, was incredibly rewarding for us. Thank you, John. And last but not least, I want to share with you, I think probably most of you on this meeting know what that is. That's a cassette tape. I still have quite a lot of those in my home. Maybe some of you do as well. But I am really glad to share with you that we are embarking on a 100-day effort, a mini campaign of sorts. Our effort is to raise $100,000 in 100 days through a campaign that we're calling Push Play. That's going to start around December 1st, which is Giving Tuesday, and extend to March 1st. As you can imagine, with the really significant revenue losses that we've had. I won't go into details on that, but it's a challenging time for all businesses, of course, and nonprofits. And so we're being bold and putting it out there and asking folks to invest in our future as the Iowa Children's Museum. We're asking folks to push play, and obviously a lot of different ways that we're going to take that in terms of having some fun with music and play, as we always do. But reminding folks that the idea of the Iowa Children's Museum, as so many other businesses and nonprofits in our community, it's not a foregone conclusion that we're gonna be around on the other side of this. We intend to be. We're gonna make every effort to ensure that that's the case, but we need folks to invest. And we've seen a huge drop off in memberships, as you can imagine. Folks that we hope will come back. But our message to the people of this community and beyond is, we need you to invest now. And even if you're not ready to come back and renew that membership, buy a gift card that will allow you to renew that membership when you're ready. Invest now, push play into the future, and ensure that we can keep doing this thing that we've been doing together for over 2 decades now. And the last slide, I just want to thank you all again for just believing that a children's museum is important in this community, that it adds to our quality of life, that it is an economic development driver, and that we should be providing dynamic play experiences for children and families in our community and beyond. And so you see our mascot, 2D Pete there, all masked up and excited. Pete's always smiling. You can tell he's smiling with his eyes there. And so I'm smiling as I look at all of you tonight and thanking you for continuing to believe in what we do. And we're just so very grateful. So John, council, staff, thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff. You've got a fantastic operation. I'm curious to find out what the ICMs are. He kind of teased us with that, and I'm anxious to see those. Tell me a little more about the ICMs, John.
All right, okay. I think I'm muted. So I appreciate you asking. So a lot of you are probably familiar with iSpies and iSpy books, where you get to see all sorts of cool artifacts. So really our goal is, they're color coded, as you probably saw. The red one is the first one that we've produced. But the goal is to start with the primary colors. I think Green State is kind of making a play for us to make a green one. So we'll see how that pans out. But really the idea is they've got these kind of plexi cutouts in them, and then we've got all sorts of cool found objects and toys. The red one it's just awesome. So you can just stand there for quite a while looking at different artifacts in there. We'll have some different guides that will challenge the kids and adults alike to try to find the different objects that are in there. We're also going to have a page on our website that hopefully will be a bit of a scavenger hunt. And if somebody finds the first one, they can get on the website, scan a QR code on the first one that they go to, find out where the other ones are, and maybe some challenges that go along with those as well. So really excited about that. That's being partially funded by the Community Foundation of Johnson County. And then we also got a public art matching grant from the city of Iowa City. But this is really something that we intend to really roll out throughout the area. So we're super excited about it. You'll be hearing more about it. And hopefully by Thanksgiving, that red one is going to be out, and then we'll move them around to different locations. They're pretty robust. You couldn't really see in that photo there. So we really look forward to sharing those with you.
Thank you. Look forward to it. I thought maybe the push play was going to have Ed with some good 70s music or something like that. Yeah. On the cassette.
We're going to have some fun with it. So stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Jill, shout out to you for all that you've done to help the Children's Museum and the support that we all give, but you really put your neck out there. So thank you. Okay, if there's no comments, I will move on to item 8, which is another benchmark agenda item as far as I'm concerned. It's one that we've been working on a long time. Unbiased policing ordinance. This is actually the ordinance itself, but of course it's just a piece of a much larger discussion and review that we've been doing and have a lot more to do regarding our police department, and it spills over into other aspects of the city as well. But I'll just read the comment here on this ordinance, and we'll get that introduced, and then we'll kick off the discussion. This ordinance prohibits certain conduct from law enforcement, creates a citizens community policing board, requires the police to collect data on contacts with the general public, and outlines training requirements for the Coralville Police Department. Don, would you please read the ordinance and then we'll have a discussion.
Ordinance number 2020-1019, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Coralville as previously amended, incorporating a chapter regarding unbiased policing introduced for first consideration by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
I believe that was seconded by Gwen. Okay, Kelly, would you like to kick off the discussion? I know, Chief Crone and Kevin Sanders with the Iowa City chapter, the NAACP is with us, and I believe he has a guest as well, but Kelly, kick it off, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We have been very pleased to work with the NAACP on this ordinance. It's something that they have worked on for some time. As many of you know, we had reviewed the University Heights ordinance, which the NAACP had worked with them on. Also, Des Moines recently adopted an ordinance, and this is modeled a lot around that as well. But the staff and from the NAACP has been very, very helpful. We've gotten input from others as well. Kevin Olson, Shane Crone, our Chief of Police, have been the primary ones to work with Kevin, Betty, and then their attorney in regards to this particular ordinance. And I believe Kevin Sanders is here tonight to also address the ordinance that you have before you.
Kevin, would you like to say a few words? Yep.
Kevin and Betty are both on. I think Betty has a pending appointment and would like to speak first, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Hello, everyone. I would like to defer, since I know Betty has another engagement. I would like to defer to her, and then I will add comments afterwards. Thank you.
Betty, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Betty said that she can't speak.
Technical challenges here.
Kevin, she shows up as muted on our screen.
Can the Zoom host unmute her?
Betty stated that it's not working. Okay, I'd just like to proceed forward. First and foremost, this started due to the unfortunate death of George Floyd. I got to really give a lot of credit to your chief, Shane Crone. He has been consistent throughout this entire process. We did review various ordinances. We talked about the needs of, or the importance of establishing a citizens review board. And he was very honest about his needs. And I believe I stated that in a previous meeting. I met with Megan Foster. She really helped out a great deal, so thank you, Megan. And I think this is really a good step moving forward with the city of Coralville if you decide to vote and approve of this ordinance. And it's a step in the right direction, but there's still more work that needs to be done. And I think that with collaborating with the NAACP, we will continue to move forward together and address the needs of the community.
Kevin, I think perhaps I heard Betty say hello.
Yes.
All right. Welcome.
Good evening. I apologize. I am in transition. I had to come to the car. It's my mother-in-law's 82nd birthday.
Yeah.
So I needed to come back in and having some technical difficulty. But I wanted to take a moment just to thank you all for the opportunity to work with you on the unbiased policing ordinance. This is a process that we started several years ago at the state level. And once we introduced some proposed legislation at the state level and eventually started working with cities and hence the University Heights ordinance, and now the Des Moines ordinance, and of course now the Coralville ordinance. I believe this will be the third unbiased policing ordinance, and we're really thrilled with that. And then of course now the state has, through the governor's focus group on criminal justice reform, made recommendation for an unbiased policing law. So this is really in alignment with the work that is going on. And of course, with the current climate, 2020 has been a year of a lot of change and a lot of taking another look at criminal justice reform. And so we are pleased that we were able to work together. And also just thankful because you all made the process really easy in terms of there weren't any major hurdles. We talked through them, and it seemed that everyone understood, and so that was helpful. And so we're just pleased that we're going to have the opportunity to collect the data, make sure it is clear and understood that racial profiling and other unbiased policing practices will not be tolerated. And so we're grateful to be working with you. So, and I will let you all read, but if there are questions afterwards, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you. And can I also add one more thing? The last week, the governor's focus group on criminal justice reform, which I am a member of, actually made recommendations on racial profiling. And they introduced that at the Iowa Summit on Justice and Disparities. Now, originally, when we first began speaking about racial profiling legislation and ordinance in our place, it was at the Iowa Summit on Justice and Disparities in about 2013. So we were really happy to see that come full circle. But then also, I wanted to just let you all know how grateful we were for the support of the city of Coralville for the Justice Summit. So I just want to say thank you. That is a big effort toward criminal justice in our state. So we really appreciate the support that you all provided. So thank you so much for continuing to be partners in making sure that all Iowans feel welcome and feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Kevin, were you finished with your comments?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, just hang with us and we'll have some council discussion now. Who would like to go first? I'll just say this is the first reading of an ordinance that we can certainly make tweaks to it before it passes 2 more times. So this is our first discussion of it.
Well, I would just like to say I am so proud and I am so grateful for all of the work that has been done on this. And I am just thrilled that we are on the cusp of passing this ordinance. And I want to thank Kevin Sanders, Kevin Olson, all of our city staff, Chief Crone, of course, for working on this. It's very exciting, and I'm so grateful to all of you. I did have a couple of questions, and I think it'll be good just to clarify some of these things. So one of the first questions I had was about the trainings. So both the trainings for the members of the Police Citizens Review Board and also the trainings that our officers would undertake. So who would conduct the trainings in both of those circumstances? And then kind of a follow-up to the question about the trainings for our officers. Will the trainings that they receive, will they all be uniform as far as, the topics that they cover?
I'll try to field that one. And I think the answer is we don't know. At this point, I think one of the tasks of the Citizens Community Policing Review Board will be to help us find our way through that training, to look at available training, make suggestions, work with me on who, how, when, how much training, and what that will entail.
Thank you.
If I could
just have a question. Oh, sorry.
I don't know if it's appropriate for me to add, but I will say that as we're working with communities and also just, you're working with the NAACP, so we have a national outlook as well. So, he's exactly right. It is part of that is the role of the Citizens Review Board, working with, of course, city staff. But oftentimes there is an RFP that's issued based on the need for training, and the NAACP is here also to offer some assistance and expertise in terms of direction for training. So,
thank you.
My question was, I saw the demographic type things of who would make up the Citizens Policing Board, but I wondered how those people would be chosen. I assume people will submit applications, but I wondered if that would just be the mayor like other commissions and boards, or if that would include Shane Crone, or who would decide who's on this board.
And then could I get a follow-up question on that, Jill? Is there any room to expand the number of individuals on that board? I want to make sure that, as we've been talking about boards and commissions, I want to make sure that we get as many different types of individuals on the board as possible. And so I'm looking at the number that I think it was 3 citizens. I don't know if it would be possible to expand that so we could make sure that we are, have enough slots so that we can get a lot of representation from different communities on that board.
Yeah, the board will start out with 5 members. 3 have to be residents of Coralville, the way it's set up. So it'll be 5. Obviously, it's the council's choosing to determine how many board members there would be. So that is one. I just chose 5 as I think that was based upon what University Heights was going off of. We'll work with the NAACP to help identify members. So basically, the mayor would be the one that would suggest the appointments with subject to council review, but I think there's a process. We could go through the same type of process we do with the rest of the boards. I think that's the way and work with NAACP to come up with their member for sure, and then identify other members, other people that would be interested in serving on the board.
I've got a couple questions, and just I'll dovetail what Megan said. I appreciate everybody's work, from Chief Crone and your officers to Kevin and Kelly. And obviously, we're extremely grateful to have the insight and the input of the NAACP. And I think it's important that we remember that, these aren't boxes to check off, or, takes this, racial justice and reform. It's ongoing and it's enduring. It has to be that way as an approach. I do have a few questions on the ordinance, just so I'm clear on a couple of things. On section A, letter B, the word recommendation, I'm just trying to get a good handle on. So when it says, for example, the board shall make recommendations to the chief of police, what policies are placed on the website. I mean, does the chief, whoever that person is, have the ability to say, we're not going to adhere to the board's recommendations, or who has the final say here? Is it a council decision to make that? I guess the word recommendation is giving me, I'm just trying to figure out what that means.
I think what we had, there are, as all you have seen, there is a stack of board policy or police policies that are numerous, and a lot of them are mundane things like, okay, what's your uniform look? Some of the stuff that, doesn't necessarily need to be on the website. I mean, I think Chief Crone obviously will work with the board, but we wanted to make sure the board had input on what policies for sure would be on there, and stuff like use of force and everything like that. That'll be on the website. It's just some of the stuff like the mundane policies that nobody would really, nobody cares about, frankly, for lack of a better term. And then there are some policies that won't be on the website that have to do with tactical operations, which I'm assuming everybody understands why we can't put some of that stuff on the website, because it talks about how the police operations there. But I think that was just trying to, give the board the opportunity to say which policies for sure should be on there, and then we can go from there.
Yep, thank you, Kevin. My second question on section 4 of the Citizen Community Policing Advisory Board, I'm just going to speak for myself. I think we wanted to make sure this had teeth and that wasn't just symbolic and like that. So the sentence, while the board will not have jurisdiction to investigate or adjudicate violations of this ordinance, the board shall educate, blah, 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 blah. Is that just because we're limited there with state law?
Yes. Remember, our police officers are covered by Chapter 400, which outlines a criminal, a complaint-based process that they have to go through. And I will say that the education portion, it was very important to the NAACP to educate the public, and that was very important to add to this, and that was at their suggestion. So yes, we are. So it will not be an investigatory body, but education is one of the important things that the NAACP wanted to have this advisory board to do.
I think it's really important.
If I may, if I may, right, and I know that we also, one of the things, and again, this is modeled after the work we did on the Des Moines Ordinance. So one of the additions that we have is also that there be a process in place. And I don't know, I know we talked about making tweaks after this, but that there be a process in place to assist people and educate the public about the Iowa Civil Rights process. So the Iowa Civil Rights Commission is an investigatory board, and they can investigate things. So that's something that I know in an upcoming meeting we mentioned to Kevin Sanders that we need to talk about. Yes, education, but also, even though this board cannot, if this board is operating in an advisory manner, there still is a process in place to where the complaints could be also made to the Iowa Civil Rights Commission.
Ms. Andrews, I want to thank you for that clarification, because I think that that is, and I love the idea of the education piece, because I do think that that is a point of confusion with a lot of citizens, that, you know, there isn't as much understanding about the roles that these boards have and the ways that these issues can be addressed. And so I want to thank you for that, and I really appreciate that point of clarification.
Sure, thank you.
And I will say that we did add a section in that section A at the end of it that talks about the board assisting individuals if they want to, with preparation and filing of complaints with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission in section A there also.
Regarding the makeup of the board, Kevin, the second point about one member be someone who holds or has held a law enforcement position, how are we defining law enforcement position? Is that a police officer? Is that someone who's worked in a police department? Is that someone who works in security? Is that someone a DNR person? Like, I'm just trying to figure out if the goal is to have a balance or something, does it need to be more specific? Are we trying to ensure that someone as a police officer's on that or retired? I'm just trying to figure out what the intent was there.
I guess my intent would be that they would have had a license from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy sometime during their career. It could be a person who's on the police, works for police, or somebody who's retired also. Obviously, I'm up for suggestions if there are tweaks that need to be made on that also.
Yeah, I'd like that to be stipulated. This is that it'd be a licensed member of law enforcement rather than just the term who's held a law enforcement position.
Okay.
On the data collection, that list is more extensive than I thought it was originally going to be. So good job, whoever extended that out a little bit. It looks like that's a lot of good information that by the time it's compiled and analyzed should be able to give us a lot of helpful information.
Okay.
I'd like to express my appreciation also for all the work that's been done on this. And I wondered if we could talk just a little more about the compiling of the data. And I was, for instance, F2, just the data shall be posted on the city's website. And I wondered, does that involve new software? Does that, how can that work? Will that come from that gentleman who will do it from the university that will do stats, or where does that all come from?
Yeah, we'll have an annual report that will include all of this data, and I would anticipate that that's what we would post on our website, because that'll make much more sense because it analyzes that data and provides more clarity to what it all means.
Right.
Right on that note, I have a question. How frequent will the data be updated? Is it annually then, Kelly?
Yes.
It's just like what you just said? Okay.
Annually.
And then will that data be presented to the review board?
Yes.
To look at, okay. I want to go back to the makeup of the board. Right now we have it at 5. And I know that Megan just mentioned that maybe we could expand the number on that. My question is, can we reserve 1 seat for LULAC? I don't know if you're all familiar with LULAC, but it's the League of United Latin American Citizens, and it's the oldest civil rights organization representing Latin American here in America. And the local chapter have expressed interest in participating on the board, if on a review board, if our city is going to have one. So my question is it feasible to have one of the seat reserved for a member of LULAC?
Since we do have a member slated that would be a member of the NAACP, I think we could do that. If we're going to start reserving a bunch of spots, we may have to make it a larger board though, because we're going to get down to where we're not going to fill all our categories. Just a comment to think about.
Agreed.
Yeah, LULAC was, I had the same thought, in thinking about expanding it, that perhaps that LULAC should also be brought in, was wondering if they would be able to, if we could reserve for that, a member for that group as well.
So on that note, then, shall we look at expanding the number right now, since we are discussing this? Can we go from 5 to 7?
I think that'd be warranted. I think, on that point, when we had the data released before, there was clear disproportionality of both people of, African Americans as well as Latinx communities. So, that does make sense in my mind.
Could we make it up to 7? We've noticed in boards, sometimes we don't always get all the applicants. And possibly this year it would be 5, next year 6. Is that possible according to the applications that come in?
I think that's a good idea, Lori. I'm cautious that we go anything higher than 7, if we even go that high.
Do they have to be? Do they have to all be filled? If
right.
I mean,
that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Do they have to be?
I think you'd want an even number at least, right, Kevin?
I mean, this is not a board that is required to be formed by state statute. So not necessarily, but I would caution that you don't want to have a board and have 1, 2, you have to have a quorum to act on your board. So if you make it bigger and you don't have people showing up, then the board can't even act, even any board that we have.
Was there a board term in the ordinance? I didn't see that, or did I miss that?
There's nothing in the ordinance right now for the terms.
I mean, I want to maybe do that and stagnate that too, just so as we're talking about, we don't have a huge flux of openings at one time.
Okay.
So this is Betty again, and I was just going to say that the NAACP often works with LULAC. They are a great organization to work with, and I think that they would be an excellent addition to the board. Depending on communities, we may or may not make a recommendation, because we know that the NAACP tends to be a little more, there tend to be more of our organization in different spots. So that's why we kind of look and see what's in the community. And I also know that there are a few other Latino Latinx organizations that are often, so I'm glad to hear LULAC being brought forth, because we do work a lot with LULAC and kind of make sure that we keep them updated on our work as well, because the issues do apply oftentimes to both communities.
So with your connections, could you perhaps get this information to some of those groups for us, Betty, so that maybe we have a pool of a good demographic for the mayor to choose from?
So I certainly have a LULAC state reference, and then also some of their local groups. Is there a local Iowa City LULAC?
Yes, and it's very active. Yeah.
Okay, well then that's good. Then you have that in terms of if it's specific to LULAC, you have that. If there are some additional groups that you're interested in, that's another story. But I do think LULAC would suffice in a situation like this. They have the longevity and you're talking about stability and making sure that people show up for meetings. You definitely want to take a look at some of the established representatives from the community, and LULAC would certainly fit that bill.
And I know that there are Coralville residents who are heavily active and involved in that group. The vice president of the chapter, our local chapter, actually is a Coralville resident. So that's a very active group.
Great, that's good to hear.
I also think right now too, I know earlier maybe it was August, where we had the listening session, and we had 15 people show up or so, and just a lot of those were folks that I had not met yet. I just think there's a lot of interest. If anything, this board could galvanize some residents and citizens kind of coming out of the woodwork a little bit. But I do think we'd have to have some type of term that's stagnated, so that we're not constantly filling and refilling the entire board.
Staggered, not stagnated.
Yeah. Oh, did I say staggered?
You said stagnated.
Oh, I meant staggered. Sorry. Yes, we don't want it to be staggered. Thank you. It's been a long day, Mayor.
Okay.
And if I could speak to that, I know that in specifically the University Heights ordinance, we did kind of leave that a little more vague as well, thinking that the board, once, this is still a very new process for a lot of people. So thinking that the board, in their recommendations for training, et cetera, would also make a recommendation as to how to stagger or, if you would, staff that board and the timing.
I do have a couple more questions on the actual writing or text. And I guess one of the things I talked about earlier, just for Section 5, complaints and compliance, which I really appreciate this being put in, but I definitely want to hear from you, Chief, and Ms. Anders, I loved your opinion also, that, the idea that, there's an accountability of, in this case, it sounds like it's police officers to hold each other accountable if there's an excessive use of force or this or that. But I go back to my concern about the lack of a camera requirement, and just, I don't know where that goes, and just, again, if I was a police officer, I'd want that protection of having body cameras always on, and if there are discretion or differing opinions of what happened, or for someone to say this happened and it didn't happen, that's the easy, in my opinion, way to differentiate that or to determine that by looking at the body camera footage. So I'm just trying to figure out where we are. I guess I'm concerned if something happens and there's no camera footage, and people say, well, why did you have cameras if you're not going to put them on? Where we are with that.
We do have a camera policy. It's contained somewhere other than this ordinance. And I think you have that policy, but I can't be 100% certain. I think it's one of the ones you requested previously.
Oh, thanks, Chief. So what is the policy? Can you tell me?
I mean, it's a lengthy policy, so no, I really can't. I couldn't outline all the facets of that policy.
Would I be?
Oh, sorry, Mitch.
Would I be correct in assuming that the expectations that an officer would have his or her camera on when responding to a call?
I think the answer is always it depends. You typically have them on in encounters. You cannot predict the bail out of the car because something's in progress. The cameras are triggered multiple ways. There's multiple cameras. I think most of the officers would squawk if you tried to take them away. So they do recognize the cameras are of value, but if you're asking me, does every encounter, every time, every officer get caught on camera, I'd tell you straight up no, and it never will.
If I remember right, Shane, though, it doesn't, if the lights go on the car, that camera automatically goes on. Is that correct?
Lights, siren, a certain speed, all trigger the camera automatically. Officers can trigger their park camera from their body camera. The two are connected and intertwined, so when you turn on one camera, you get both cameras. It's a fantastic system.
In terms of the NAACP, we believe that the best case scenario is that anytime there's an interaction with citizens and when I say interaction, so being stopped by the police, or there being a house call, or any type of situation like that. I'm certainly not talking about coffee with the police or something like that. But anytime there is that type of interaction, what we strive for is that body cameras or cameras be utilized. And we think that that's the best way to assist in determining what might happen. I have not had the occasion to read the camera policy that Iowa City, that Coralville, I apologize. We've been working on both Iowa City and Coralville, but I have not had the occasion to read that, but certainly would have interest in taking a look. I know that there are a number, to the chief's point, it's sometimes difficult, but we know that there have been situations in which, had a camera been present, it would have resolved, it could have potentially resolved a lot of tough situations. So we would, our preference is that a camera would be present or on as, if there is any type of police enforcement activity. And go ahead.
No, you go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I just wanted to be, so in relationship to this, while it is, and I heard the comment about the car cams and other, there's also traffic cameras and things like that. So we would definitely, that all of those could be used as evidence if there is a situation. The one, I believe there was a question about also the complaint process. I want to be clear. So there's a couple of things. There's the administrative complaint in which the internal, the law enforcement would handle that. But then there's also the civil rights complaint as well, or the possibility of the civil rights complaint. And that kind of gives two avenues, where one is the administrative piece, where it would be dealt with as an employee situation. But the other is if there is something more, or if there are additional damages through a civil rights violation, that can be addressed through the Iowa Civil Rights Department.
I'm just curious, if the camera is on and it's recording, how long are those footage keep for? Are they backlogged somewhere?
We maintain them at least 180 days if they're not case related. And then we keep them until they're forced off by additional videos. So at our peak, they're almost a year old, but that can fluctuate just based on how much more video is going into the system.
Thank you.
Let's not get too far off the ordinance here.
Yeah.
I'll have to tell you, there's one paragraph that when I read this the first time a few days ago, I had to read about 10 times to understand, and I think I do, but it's just in such legalese, Kevin Olson. Section 5B, that paragraph. Any employee who opposes any practice occurring in violation of this ordinance shall not be discriminated against for opposing such practice, in any investigation, proceeding, or hearing arising out of this ordinance. There's a lot to unpack there, as they say, trying to understand, follow that line of what it's trying to say.
Basically, for lack of a better term, we're trying to say that if you report somebody, you're not going to be disciplined for it.
If you know,
I can work on making that a little less wordy, I guess, we'll put it that way.
So does any employee
say that, Kevin? Because
that makes it easier?
Yeah.
It's an anti-retaliation thing, isn't it? It's no retaliation.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
I like the whistleblower thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like whistleblower, basically.
I will do some wordsmithing on that paragraph.
Yeah, it took me several readings, to put it that way, to read through.
Well, what do I get for 3 years in school? I got to be able to do something.
But it is powerful that you have it in. And at the Iowa Summit on Justice and Disparities, a couple of our keynotes were from Georgetown University, and they actually have a program, active bystander training. And I bring that up because I know that in the case of George Floyd, there were officers around, but they were also subordinate officers. And so having kind of best training and figuring out how to do that, and kind of going against the culture. So it really is important to have that in, and that might be one of the things that the advisory board looks at in terms of training for the officers. So
we have that duty to intercede that all Johnson County officers have signed on to, or at least the leadership with Johnson County officers have signed on to as well. So I'm sure I don't know what the details are of that, or if that's just more of a statement, or if there is regulatory mechanisms that back that up.
Basically, a policy all the executives of law enforcement agencies said is that we demand and expect our personnel to report any other agency violating any of the laws. It's really nothing but an affirmation amongst the executives to let our personnel know we expect you to intercede, even if it's not your own department. Do the right thing.
For section 5, part C, it says supervisor shall ensure the working environment is supervisor here is who? Is it, who is the inspector, I guess? Is it the review board? Is it the chief of police? Is it city staff?
Supervisors would be ranked with
Who is the supervisor?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Did you mean who is the supervisor?
Yes, supervisor. Yes. So section 5C, it says supervisor shall ensure the working environment is free of bias and free of racial profiling. And then the oversight responsibility might include periodically inspection of body and in-car audio and video system, traffic stop data, all of that. Who is doing the inspection is my question.
That would be the police department supervisors. That would be making sure. And it says right in there they have to make sure there's no, they're in charge. They're charged with making sure that this policy is followed through. And so they can, as an example, if they can check somebody, a subordinate officer's camera to make sure if there's a complaint or anything like that, that they make sure that they are they are not partaking in any of prohibited actions under this ordinance. So it's the supervisors and of the officers who would be doing that up the chain there.
But shouldn't we have? Should we have somebody who is a neutral party to review that, to inspect those? I'm just trying to understand that maybe the language is what I'm having trouble with here.
Can I offer some help?
Yes, please.
Sure. So again, thinking about this as an ordinance this will be an opportunity for the supervisors, the chief, or the leadership of law enforcement. This is law, so they have to follow this policy. Now, the kind of your safety net I think that you're looking for is going to be the Citizens Review Board. So the fact that they're able to kind of look over the shoulders, and I'm saying that in just kind of loosely framing it, to ensure that these things are happening. So, for instance, if there are a couple of complaints about, and just making something up about, issues and the body cameras weren't on, then this board should be the board that says, okay, hey, what's going on? We're getting complaints and the body camera is not on and we need that. And that's something that this board will be able to report to the chief, but they will also be able to report to the council and I say encourage, but probably stronger than the word encourage, change in that process. And the reason also that you have, and not necessarily to dig into individuals' business, but you have that representation from the NAACP and then also LULAC and then also the other citizens, is that they are there to hold to hold that accountability. And so I think at least that's the way it's built, because ultimately the supervisors are responsible for making sure any officer follows all the policies and all the ordinances. So that would be their role.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just to finish up, sorry, John, we can vote, but just so Kevin or someone going to send Ms. Andrews the camera policy so she can look at that?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I do too. Thank you so much for following.
Okay, well, any final comments from the council? I want to give Chief Crone an opportunity to say a few words at the end here, but
I just wanted to also thank Ms. Andrews for her help on this. I forgot to include her in my first round of thank yous, but you really are doing tremendous work with our community and also just around the state. And I really appreciate that you've been helping us out with this.
Megan, thank you so much. It is a labor of love.
Great, good to hear that. Yeah, I can't thank, on behalf of the entire city, staff, council, our citizens, businesses, I really appreciate your assistance on this important next step for our city. It makes me feel very good. So,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Shane, would you like to say a few words?
Mayor, they kind of stole my words, Ms. Andrews. I was just going to thank you for your work and the opportunity to meet you, and also for keeping Kevin available to us. Kevin Sanders is a friend and wise counsel. I do appreciate Kevin's patience and guidance as we drafted and refined this ordinance and to get it into the form that you have tonight. I think we all understand by no means does this ordinance mark the end of anything, but rather a beginning to a partnership and a commitment to keep working as we go forward. And that's just kind of what I wanted to leave it. I appreciate all Kevin's work, and he's been tremendously wise counsel to me.
Well put, Shane. And I don't want to forget to thank the staff. You know, Shane, you, Kevin Olson, Kelly, I think Mike Funky, perhaps Alan, anyone on the staff. I know it's been a group process, has taken a lot of time, and really appreciate that.
Mayor, I just want to add though on that. I think we got to say something about the chief, because I think, you know, no profession, rightfully so, has had the scrutiny that law enforcement has. And I appreciate Chief Crone that the willingness to look, you know, at the department. And I don't think every chief would run to the NAACP and say, you know, let's have this collaborative relationship. And I think it's just also, I think, a testament of the department that we have, as well as the attitude and approach that Coralville has. So I appreciate that.
Well put.
If I could just echo that just briefly, just to say thank you. We agree. I thank you, Chief Crone, for, you know, stepping up, raising your hand. Thank you so much, Kevin Olson, for your support, and thank all of you for being so supportive in this process. Believe me when I say, after spending about 2.5 years negotiating with the city of Des Moines, this was refreshing. And maybe they did all the hard work beforehand, but this was and I guess it's probably been what, maybe not quite 2 years, but it felt longer. So this is refreshing. So I just want to thank all involved, and certainly want to recognize our Iowa City and Johnson County area president of the NAACP, Kevin Sanders, for all his hard work. I know he calls me pretty much every day, if not twice a day, and we make sure that we're talking through what's going on in this area. So it is extremely, I'm extremely proud to have him on our team. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to have a roll call on the first reading of the ordinance.
Gross.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Happily, the ordinance passes its first reading, all ayes. It'll be on our, I assume, expect it to be on our next agenda in 2 weeks for second consideration, and some of the changes that we discussed will probably, I'm sure, will be addressed in the second version. Thank you very much. Thank you to our guests. Moving on to item 9, 2,500 Holiday Court. This is the second consideration of an ordinance that will change the land use map for property located at 2,500 Holiday Court from regional commercial to high density residential. Don?
Ordinance number 2020-1017, an ordinance amending the Coralville Community Plan to reflect certain property generally known as 2,500 Holiday Court, Coralville, Iowa, to be designated high-density residential use in place of commercial use. Introduced for second consideration by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Again, for the public, this is for some property that's essentially across the street from Coralville Fire Station number 2, where the intent is, if it moves forward, to construct, primarily construct a financially assisted housing complex on this multifamily housing complex on this land. Roll call.
Quinn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Ordinance passes at second consideration, all ayes. Item 10 is Eagle Bend at Clear Creek. Also second consideration of an ordinance that will rezone the subject property from R1 Single Family Residential District to RPUD1 Residential Planned Unit Development 1 District, and approve a PUDA site plan and preliminary plat. Don?
Ordinance number 2020-1018, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 664, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Eagle Bend at Clear Creek, from R1 Single Family Residential District to RPUD 1 Residential Plan Unit Development 1 District, introduced for adoption, second consideration by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich, I believe. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its second consideration, all ayes. Item 11 is Redhawk Subdivision. This is a resolution that accepts the installed paving, curb, and gutter, water mains, sanitary sewer mains, and stormwater mains and appurtenances for Redhawk Subdivision. Sidewalks are excluded pursuant to the subdividers agreement. Again, for the public's sake, Redhawk Subdivision is north of the Iowa Medical Classification Facility, just west of Coral Ridge Avenue. Don?
Resolution accepting municipal improvements constructed on Redhawk Subdivision, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Wynn,
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolutions approved, all ayes. Item 12 is the third and final consideration of an urban chicken ordinance that sets forth the process to allow chickens in residential zoning districts. And the resolution sets the annual urban chicken permit fee at $25 per year. Don?
Ordinance number 2020-1012, an ordinance adding Chapter 55A regarding urban chickens, introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, do we have clarification on the lesson or the training that is expected before people get their chickens?
I think what we're going to do is we're going to, part of the application process will be to turn in some type of certification that they have obtained. So we'll have that before they will give them their permit to operate. We're not going to run the classes, but I think there seems to be plenty of opportunities for people to obtain this training. So, but we will make sure that they provide proof of that before we grant a permit to do this.
Okay, and then how soon after we pass this can people begin their applications?
The ordinance will have to be published if the council approves it for the third reading, which would be probably in a week. We will get we will start getting the permit forms and everything ready to go. I'm not a chicken aficionado, so I don't know if this would be something that would be a spring thing and not something in the winter. But we will get it ready as soon as we can get everything ready from our end, and then wait for somebody to apply.
Mean you're no spring chicken?
No, I knew it. I saw you.
I do that.
I did too. I saw you like getting ready,
The
like I'm
wheels
gonna
are
do a chicken
turning.
pun.
Yeah. I stepped right into that, didn't I?
I just want to know the timetable. I think that's helpful for people to plan. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes. Item B is a resolution setting the annual fees.
Resolution setting annual permit fees for urban chickens in the city of Coralville, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Second by Nguyen. Discussion? Again, it's $25 per year. Roll call?
Gross.
Aye.
Wynn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolutions passes all ayes. Item C is the third and final consideration of an ordinance that incorporates changes in state law passed in the 2020 session.
Ordinance number 2020-1013, an ordinance amending chapter 55 regarding animal neglect and abandonment, introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion? Roll call.
Wynn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Moving on to item 13, A and B, they're very similar. They're the second consideration of an ordinance that sets the base value of property located in Coralville urban renewal areas. The first one is the Coral Ridge Commerce Park, and the second one is the Mall and Highway 6 urban renewal area located in Coral Galleria. Don?
Ordinance number 2020-1014, an ordinance amending ordinance number 608, 707, 2001, 942, 2006-1052, 2013-1009, 2014-1007, and 2017-1017, providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on all property located within the Coralville Renewal Area Project in the city of Coralville, County of Johnson, state of Iowa, by and for the benefit of the state of Iowa, city of Coralville, County of Johnson, Iowa City Community School District and other taxing districts be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with said urban renewal redevelopment project, introduced for adoption, second consideration by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? I'll just say that it was long enough that I could run to our thermostat in our house and turn the heat on. We haven't had the furnace on for a few days. And I was realizing in my office here, I was really getting cold. So thanks. I went and turned the furnace on. Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Wynn.
Aye.
Ordinance passes a second consideration, all ayes. The second one, Don, B.
Ordinance number 2020-1015, an ordinance amending ordinance number 650-679-97-786, 2001-941, 2002-95, 2013-1007, 2015-1018, 2016-1020, and 2017-1016, providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on all property located within the Mall and Highway 6 urban renewal project area in the city of Coralville, County of Johnson, state of Iowa, by and for the benefit of the state of Iowa, city of Coralville, County of Johnson, Iowa City Community School District, and other taxing districts be made to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by said city in connection with said urban renewal development project, introduced for adoption and second consideration by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Wynn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes its second consideration, or ordinance, I'm sorry, passes its second consideration, all ayes. Item 14 is a resolution that the city council is required to do to determine whether it will appropriate funds for bond payment by December 1st of each year.
Resolution appropriating payment of certain annual appropriation debt service instruments and directing the finance officer to certify tax increment financing debt to the Johnson County Auditor, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Foster. Discussion? Roll call?
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item 15 is A and B. First one is a resolution for a $75,000 advance for financing projects from the Coralville Urban Renewal Area Tax Increment Revenue Fund.
Resolution authorizing internal advance payments for tax increment revenue fund for urban renewal project costs, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Discussion? Roll call.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item B is a similar one for the 12th Avenue Urban Renewal Area.
Resolution authorizing internal advance payable from tax increment revenue fund for urban renewal project costs, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Discussion? Roll call?
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution's approved, all ayes. Item 16 is a permanent storm sewer and drainage easement agreement, which will allow the property owners to install drain tile through the backyards of 32 and 34 Chad Court and across park property to discharge near a city stormwater retention basin. Don?
Resolution approving a permanent storm, sewer, and drainage easement agreement for 32 and 34 Chad Court, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes. Item 17 is a resolution for an amendment to assist in stabilizing the tenant's ongoing business operations due to the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic by offering the option of short-term rent deferral. And this is for the business called Evolve that is located in the Iowa River Landing.
Resolution approving a second amendment to lease agreement with CNCT LLC, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodd, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Goodrich,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes, all ayes. Item 18 is the West Land Use Area Connection Fee. This is a resolution that will release this lot from any liens from the West Land Use Area Connection Fees, which total $63,279.
Resolution acknowledging payment in full of the West Land Use Area Connection Fee for Lot 7 Coral Crossing, Part 6, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Nguyen. Discussion? Roll call.
Foster,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Dodds,
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Resolution passes, all ayes. Item 19 is a property purchase. This is for a home located at 708 9th Avenue for a purchase price of $50,000.
Resolution approving a purchase agreement for 708 9th Avenue, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Foster, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Kelly, would you like to give a little background for the public on this project?
Yes, this is a property that we've been working with the owners for several years. The house has not been lived in for several years, and there's been various concerns from the neighbors in regards to some of the upkeep of the house. The homeowners have cooperated with us each time that we provided a nuisance complaint. At this point, when they went to solve all of the issues that were brought up, they said that the house really wasn't suitable to be lived in. And so that's when we discussed with them the purchase of the property. The intent would be we would need to do some work. We'll need to do an asbestos test. And once that's completed, then the intent would be to demolish the house and then sell the lot for a new house to be built, a new house to be built at that location.
Thank you. Any questions for Kelly or discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item 20 is 3 parts to it, all having to do with the Veterans Memorial Project that we heard from earlier from Rex Brandstetter about earlier in the meeting. Item A is a resolution for an agreement that has the Veterans Memorial and Coralville Committee paying for improvements for the memorial and turning over construction responsibilities to the city of Coralville.
Resolution approving an agreement with the Veterans Memorial and Coralville Committee regarding funding for the construction of the Veterans Memorial, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Dodds. Any discussion? Question?
Mayor, I can talk a little bit about why
Sure.
we choose to do this way.
This is Sherry Proud, the director of our Parks and Recreation Department.
Yeah, thank you. So we wanted to make sure, I guess when we started down the road of the construction part of the memorial, by doing this way and having the Veterans Committee turn over the funds to us and then us construct, we get a project that we can inspect and have our staff involved in making sure that that's built to the right specifications, because this is going to be here for, we hope hundreds, several hundred years. So we want it to be done right in that way. And then also it brings the insurance, it brings it under city's insurance, and it makes it a tax exempt project. So all of those things together made sense to flow the money to the city, and then the city do the construction.
Thank you. Any questions for Sherry? Roll call.
Quinn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item B is a resolution for an agreement for the veneer stone on the front of the memorial for an amount not to exceed $44,000.
Resolution approving an agreement for the installation of the front wall veneer for the Veterans Memorial, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Discussion? Roll call.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item C is a similar resolution for an agreement for the construction of a brick paver walkway and plaza space at the memorial for an amount not to exceed $29,839.
resolution approving an agreement for the installation of the brick paver walkway and plaza space for the Veterans Memorial, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Dodds, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Discussion?
Yes, just one thing, Mayor, I just want to make sure that everybody understands when we're done with these two projects, there is still one last thing to complete this memorial. So I don't want anybody to think this is all done. The emblems at the back for each of the services of the military will not be included at this point. They need to raise some additional funds. So there is one more phase to this that will need to be completed.
And I would also add with the front signage that says Veterans Memorial will not be added until those medallions are added as well.
Thank you for pointing that out. Roll call?
Goodrich.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes. Item 21 is an item that the council requested discussion with our solid waste and street superintendent, Eric Fisher, regarding the recycling program. Kelly, do you want to introduce Eric or start this off? Or?
No, I think Eric can do that. Eric, his intent is just to give you an update of where we're at on the recycling and some of the common questions that we get, and he'll be able to address those for you.
And I'll just jump in and say congratulations to the new father, Eric Fisher.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Council, Mayor. Tonight I'll just try to give you a brief overview of where we're at with the current recycling program, where we're at today, and some possible future options we can do for the program by increasing recycling tons and decrease landfill tons. Right, the main goal of any recycling program is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. But in the Streets and Solid Waste Department, we have two sections of it. That's mainly the refuse. We have 2 drivers in there, and in the recycling, we have 4 full-time positions and 1 part-time position. And Ed Bowers, he's the recycling coordinator, and he's basically down there with the recycling guys, responsible for the day-to-day operations with recycling collection and yard waste collection. And it was, I think, late February, March of this year, we did basically a 4-week study, just driving all the streets on people's recycling days, making counts on how many households set out recycling bins. We didn't count the number of bins at each household, just each house that had at least 1 bin out. So at that time, we had 4,420 residential curbside customers. And over that 4-week period, we averaged 2,138 stops per week. So that was an average set out rate of 48%, and that's pretty on par with the national average. I think in general, it's around the 50% participation rate for recycling. And when we did these counts, we kind of divided the city up into, I think it ended up being about 31 areas. And it really ranged in each area the percentage of participation. It ranged from 27% in one area, and another area is at 72%. So it really kind of depends on where you're at. And some streets, it's like, okay, it's almost like a competition with the neighbors, so you feel bad if you don't set out a recycling bin. So there's some streets where we're at 100%. And of the residents we did collect, it averaged about 8 pounds per household per week. And overall, last year, we collected right at 470 tons of recycling, and that only includes curbside, because what's picked up at the drop site, we do not have a tonnage on that. That's just picked up by our vendor and mixed in with everybody else's, so we do not have an accurate tonnage down there. And we ended up with just under 500 tons of yard waste for the year. And that includes bags, all bags, sticks, or brush piles. Everything is picked up weekly with the collection. I think one of the bigger questions we get, or I receive all the time, and I'm sure a lot of council members receive it too, is looking at single stream recycling. I think that's probably the most popular or common question I get. And if you're not familiar with it, single stream, it's just basically the resident sets everything out in one bin that doesn't require the consumer to do any sorting. Then all the recycling is picked up in the same truck, then it's transferred to a MRF facility. That's a materials recovery facility. I believe the closest one around here is in Scott County. And I think that's where I know Iowa City's material goes to. Johnson County Refuse hauls there. I'm not sure where Cedar Rapids goes. But in the past, probably 2 to 3 years, Iowa City, they switched to single stream in 2018. North Liberty went in 2019. And so a lot of cities are there now. I'm not sure what the overall percentage of cities are. One of the biggest benefits are it increases participation in the recycling program. Some cities see almost like a 50, 70% increase in participation with people doing it because it's much easier to do. You throw it in one bin, does not require you to do anything. But with everything, you got some pros and cons. Some of the pros for this, it's easier for the consumer, increases recycling participation in tons, reduces labor collection cost, and increases customer satisfaction. But some of the bigger cons of it are it does increase your contamination rate. I talked to Iowa City today, and they said they were at 1% contamination rate before single stream, but now they're up to 10%, and that is still below the national average for single stream contamination. Then it does require sorting at a MRF facility, and probably our biggest con for it will be the upfront cost. Is just to get, I figured we'd probably need 2 trucks. Those run about $275,000 a piece and about 4,500 carts at $60 a piece, and that comes up to just under $900,000. That's just for what we would need out on the road. That doesn't include a building, transportation, compactors we may need to make transportation more efficient. Then another part of the single stream is you're looking more at the commodity prices. Because recycling is a commodity and it's always fluctuating. I was kind of looking over some of the numbers from the past 20 years today. And for example, paper was hit a high of $117 per ton in 2012, and it hit the low for $2.24 a ton and for most of 2019. So it definitely can go up and down, but today it's up to $35 to $40 a ton, which isn't too bad. And a lot of it depends on your plastics you have. Plastics can range from $150 a ton to $1,100 a ton. But with the plastics, you're only talking all plastics together, you're maybe 8%, and like some of your high dollar plastics, you only have 1 to 2% by weight of what you're trying to sort off. But the good news is for the paper, which that's approximately 50% of your product, it's has a good positive outlook today. I talked to Scott County, or Waste Commission of Scott County, and every year they go to a large recycling meeting, and for the past 5 years, it's just been kind of doom and gloom, nothing good for the futures. So this past year is the first time it's had a good positive outlook. Because right now they're building, there's at least 5 new paper mills being built by US and Chinese companies that should open up in the US in the next 5 years. And they'll take the paper products, make it into paper pulp, and ship it to China. Because China still has a huge market on it, but they just need the mills to get it put into paper pulp to get shipped there. Then another common complaint we've had since we discontinued glass collection, I don't know if it's been 4 or 5 years ago, is at the time, right now there is no market, or there's a market for glass, but you got to pay them to take it. Because everything else they're paying you. Glass can range from anywhere from you're paying them $35 to $7 a ton. There are a few facilities out there where they will come pick up glass for you, semi-load. But one big issue with glass and single stream is once it gets broken up with the other materials like cardboard, it gets embedded in there, and that decreases the value of everything you're trying to save money on and recycle. And currently we do not have any glass collection sites in Coralville. Iowa City, they have I think maybe 3 around town, and they're looking at expanding their number of collection sites. But Iowa City, they work with a company out of Kansas City. I think it's Ripple Glass. And once they get a semi-load up here, they will bring a semi up and pick it up. I'm not sure on the cost that they pay to have a truck there. But I think we can work it out where if we did get some kind of dumpsters or collection here, we could take it to Iowa City and they would help us dispose of it down with their collection company. So I just kind of need to figure out a good, safe way to collect the glass without it, because it does take up a lot of space, or the glass will add up quite fairly quickly, so you need a larger container for it. And another big issue we've been having lately is the drop site down on Hughes Street. That current location moved down there in January 2018 after the previous location on 7th Street was redeveloped as part of the IRL. Excuse me. Down there, we started out with 6 dumpsters, 3 commingled, and 3 cardboard at the time when we first opened. And now we're up to 4 commingled, 4 cardboard, and 2 large roll-off containers. The commingled containers, I believe those are dumped 4 times a week because they just don't fill up as quick. But the cardboard, those are dumped every day that the company Republic Services is open. So it's Monday through Saturday, and they do not offer us collection on Sunday, which Monday mornings down there can turn into a disaster zone, especially if it's nice weather and people are at home cleaning up. But since we opened the site down there, there's been 2 big events where we've seen a lot. We could specifically see increases down there. And the first one was shortly after it opened in March of 2018, when there's a large fire down at the Republic drop site in Iowa City. And after that fire, they permanently closed the site. So we continue to see increased material. We saw a large increase. All Iowa City's drop sites saw increases. And they took a lot of material down there, and those people just it all split out between our one drop site and Iowa City's drop sites. And the last one was around March of this year when the pandemic set in. It was kind of like when everybody stayed at home, they're not going out to restaurants, they're cooking more at home, and everybody's ordering from Amazon. So you're getting a lot more boxes. There's definitely a huge increase in boxes down there at that time. So yeah, when we first set the site up down there, it was not the greatest setup, but we got it going as a temporary site, not knowing how long we'd be there. And at that time, we opened it up just basically 24/7 with no monitoring. And it's been a challenge to keep it clean down there. We try to get it cleaned up as much as we can, but you get windy weekends when our dumpsters are possibly overflowing on Sundays. It can make a mess down there. And I'm not sure if there's a good answer for trying to get that place back under control. Yeah, we can put cameras down there, but then it's who's going to monitor them and kind of keep an eye on everything that's happening down there. Another option is if we fence it off, gate it, and only have it open certain hours of the week. or certain hours during the day, kind of like we did at the old site. I believe it was maybe 7 to 3, and we had some hours on Saturday and Sunday. But if we did get it off, I'm not sure if that would turn into people pull up down there. Okay, we're just going to dump it in the street now. That's going to be a bigger mess yet. So that's kind of a lot of the basics that we have down there. So I don't know if anybody has some more specific questions on items. I can definitely give you more information on anything you may have on it.
Eric, do you check the area first thing Monday, or is that just from a labor standpoint, you don't have the people to do that?
We try to get down there, but usually Republic Services, they don't get down there till a few hours later. So it's really hard for us to clean up a disaster zone when we don't have any place to put it. And we don't have much control in their route because they send their trucks out of Cedar Rapids and they have their set route they're running. So I can't ask them to, go way over there, come back here, get this. And they could get down there, say they're going to be there by 6 a.m. Yes, we could get in there first thing, clean it up, but it's kind of hard for us to clean it up when there's nowhere to put stuff.
Eric, do you have any feel or gut number for the number of patrons that are not from Coralville that are using our site? People from Tiffin, people from Johnson County?
No, I don't have any idea on that. I mean, there's definitely a good percentage of them because Tiffin, North Liberty, they don't have any kind of drop sites. So if you're from those areas, Iowa City's drop sites are definitely going to be farther than Coralville. So I do not know the number. I mean, I've been down there before where people backed in with U-Hauls full of cardboard. And so it's a challenge.
Eric, one question that I have gotten, and I think it would just be helpful for you to answer for everyone that is listening, is a question about whether or not our plastics are actually recycled. I know that there has been some conversation lately about, people go to all of this trouble to actually, to recycle the plastic when in reality, plastics end up not getting recycled for various reasons. So can you talk a little bit about the standards that exist, why that might be a little bit more difficult, and then share what you know about where our plastics end up?
I could say a lot more for our curbside because we directly deal with that more than hiring Republic Services, where as soon as they take it, it's in their control. But with our curbside recycling collection, we pick it up and we take it over to ABC Services or ABC in Iowa City. And that's the same place that Iowa City dumps all their plastic. And from ABC, ABC hauls it to Waste Commission of Scott County. And at that point, that is that's a MRF material sorting facility. And I went, several years ago, I toured that place and they you take your plastic where we throw it in one bin, they're probably sorting that plastic into 10 different containers to get the best price out of each item. I think even on milk jugs, they try to separate the lid from the jug itself. It's just the quality of plastic. And they just sent me some current prices the other day, like on clear HDPE, that's like a clear shampoo bottle, that has a value of $1,100 a ton, which that's pretty good if you can get a lot of that, but there's not a real high percentage of that. And other plastics, those are around $150 a ton. That's the market value they're getting out of it. And I'm sure because it's the Scott County facility, a couple of years ago, they invested close to $1 million into an optical plastic sorter. So it can, I think it's like with lasers and air blows, it sorts material out to very high quality standard. I'm not sure if they've hit it yet, but they're trying to get their plastic sorted to a high enough quality where China will accept it. because that's China's biggest problem. They don't want the contamination in there. They want good, pure plastic. So as far as I know, everything is being properly recycled. They're paying people out like they're doing it. So I don't think they're going to haul it to landfill and pay you for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing for people to understand is that, you know, there's a lot of factors and a lot of things that, you know, you have to consider when it comes to recycling. It's not as simple as just you set it out on the curb and it goes. There's a whole process after the fact that that makes it challenging and difficult. So I appreciate the clarification on that.
Eric, I have a few. So I was interested in if we knew North Liberty being even a smaller, if not almost equal population to us now, how they were able to, with the cost being pretty high, almost prohibitive, how they were able to switch over to single stream.
With North Liberty, they have a private company that collects all their material.
And then that's just completely consumer paid for?
Yes. Well, as far as I know, everything, it's Johnson County Refuse where he does, I think North Liberty's his biggest town he takes care of, but he does a lot of smaller communities in this area. And now, I haven't looked at the rates lately to see how ours compares to North Liberty. And like currently with Iowa City, we're within $1 or $2 per month of them.
Okay. I've had a lot of people talk to me about composting. And I was wondering if you could address your thoughts on that, if that's something you could possibly see in the future.
It's something we could definitely look at, but I think right now we're not really set up for it because today, yes, you can compost because when we do yard waste, you can put it in the yard waste bags for collection. But to run it year round, it could be a challenge or it'd be very expensive for the amount of trucks we have because you almost need to run another truck and we need a better collection system. Carts would probably be the best way to go with it.
And what would that maybe look like that we could replace as our trucks are getting older? I mean, I know we have a replacement plan. Is it a different kind of truck that we get? Or is it something that we could manage over time?
In the future, definitely we could get into it. I believe Iowa City, they do offer, I think it's a 25-gallon cart and a 90-gallon compost cart. That would be huge. But that's what they offer at this time. And I think they're good. And also residents can set out, I believe it's a 20 to 30-gallon, just any container with compost in it.
Yeah, and they mix it all. I've been talking to some of my families from Iowa City, and you know, it sounds pretty pie in the sky, but you know, you have this big container, and the biggest con is you got to make sure you wash it out good so it doesn't smell yucky. But they can put, you know, leftovers from supper. They can put potato peelings. They can put grass and sticks. They just throw it all in there together. And you know, I've got families who are bragging to me that they have one little 13-gallon bag of trash where, you know, I'm shoving 2 carts out there, you know. So I'm feeling pretty guilty about my efforts to save the planet and what we can do here to help out, because it does seem like there's a population that's pretty interested in making some changes. But I know cost is going to be a prohibitive factor, and just trying to you know, open up things for discussion. If we could partner with Iowa City or North Liberty, if that would be cheaper to start, or, you know, any kind of ideas that we could start moving a little bit more positively than just basic cardboard and plastic.
It would have to, I feel like you'd want to go with an automated system. So with that, it would be, you'd need an automated yard waste truck. Those trucks run that's $250,000 to $275,000. Then whether you do mandatory carts for people or just an option, okay, if you want a cart, we'll bring you one. Because then, like just with a single stream, it's the 60-gallon carts, those are $40,000 to $50,000 or $40 to $50. So if we did one for every household, a smaller cart would probably be cheaper, but you're talking another, I had the price here, another couple $150,000 to $200,000 in carts. So it'd be a whole nother cart we need to buy and another truck at this time. So it would be, it's something we could look at in the future, but at this time, I don't think we are right there to get to the automated composting.
Mm-hmm. And is there something in the future besides what we've got? Can you tell people what the long-term plan is besides the Hughes Street dump site? Do we have another plan in mind, or?
The long-term plan would be to build a new recycling facility, because like even our trucks, they're stored in just a rented building down in around the IRL. So, and that property's owned, I believe it's owned by the university, or it will be, with future expansion, that building will be torn down. So yes, at that time, we'd like to build a new solid waste facility, probably most likely down here under James Street at the Streets and Wastewater facility. And that would include a drop site, storage for our trucks, possible transfer for single stream from our single stream trucks to transportation to a MRF facility. But I mean, all that is, it's going to be, I mean, just the trucks, it's trucks, carts, right at $1 million. Another building is maybe another $1 to $1.5 million plus. So at this time, it's just looking at where we're going to get the funds for that. And it's discussion we can have coming up here with budgeting time. It's coming up here very soon. There are some grants out there, but it's definitely not going to cover.
I was going to ask if there was some grants out there, just trying to, keep things out of the landfill, or.
Yes, there's definitely grants out there. There's like our carts where they're that $50 range. There's a grant where you can get $15 a cart back for recycling, or for not for the compost, but for recycling carts. And there are some low interest loans. There's different things out there to apply for and money to get.
So Eric, thank you for all of that information. I guess my question is that we have to come up with a fund in order to build a new recycling center and all of that. In the meantime, can we, do we have the fund, or can we add more bin at the drop site in order to combat the messes that happen all the time because we are running out of room?
We've been adding more bins. We just basically need to get a larger site down there if we want to do that. And it is a very expensive drop site we have down there. It's currently we're paying $75,000 to $80,000 a year just to have that picked up down there.
Wow.
So it is a big chunk of change.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you say it again?
About $75,000 to $80,000 a year we're paying to have that site picked up.
And we pay that to Republic.
Yes,
correct?
Republic Services. Okay. It's right around, average is about $6,500 a month. So I think that's 75 area.
Do we bid that out, Eric, or is that renewed each year, or how does that contract work?
I just kind of renew it with them. I've tried to find some other people, and nobody's really that interested in picking that up down there. I've talked to ABC, Johnson County Refuse, and I don't think it's the ideal, it's not an easy thing to deal with. So they are going to charge a lot to pick that area up.
Eric, I appreciate that. I'm gonna need to research and think on it some more, but so I'll probably bother you in the future. I'll give you a heads up.
Okay.
Eric, based on the constraints we have, what's your recommendation? What's your view of the best way forward?
I feel single stream would be, that would be what I would like to head towards. It is going to cost some money, but it's going to be the investment to get there, but long term, it's going to be less. It's going to be happier citizens, less complaints on our end, and I believe we'll get more recycling collected and less landfill tons.
Eric,
Thank you.
with that, would you say that we wouldn't have a cardboard recycling spot?
We would still maintain a drop site.
Would, okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think it'd be tough to get away from that. But with like most communities with their carts, if it doesn't fit in the cart, you're taking it to the drop site. So it needs to be in the cart for collection. And there's so much, we get so many complaints on just, oh, this wasn't picked up because it wasn't sorted right. And single stream carts would be solvent. Yeah, we might not pick up your cart if they start to pick it up and their camera spots it's full of garbage. No, we are not going to pick that up.
I just heard an advertisement on the radio from some other city saying, don't put your styrofoam in your single recycling, because that contaminates it.
Oh, yes.
Details that there's education for people.
Yeah,
It's like pizza boxes,
See, like a greasy pizza box it's either garbage or can be composted, because greasy pizza box is not a good recycling material.
Do you know if the city of Coralville only pick up for resident? What about people who live in an apartment or places that don't have a curbside to set out their recycling? What do we?
Those people, for the most part, we only pick up duplexes. For the most part, we need it could be a 20-plex, but we need like one driveway that shares 2 households. So like each house can have, you got the left side of the drive, I got the right side. Because there's places where you have three residents going into one drive, and in those areas, you don't have a lot of room to set carts out. So if in these larger units where they don't have curbside and location to set cans out, we don't have the equipment to go into parking lots and pick up dumpsters. We do not have dumpster or trucks to do that.
So is it safe to say that we don't service apartment in Coralville?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Eric. That was a pretty thorough review. Clearly, it's something that will be worked into our budget discussions. Be surprised if it's next year, but in years to come, for sure.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep,
thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
I think we're going to hear a little more from you in a little bit
Thanks.
during the work session too. So
yes.
Okay, let's move on to the consider a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended. That would be to eliminate item 22B as in boy.
Mayor, I would move to consider a motion to approve the consent calendar A through P inclusive, except for item B.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Dodd, seconded by Nguyen. Roll call or discussion? Roll call, please.
Foster.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Nguyen.
Aye.
Dodds.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved as amended. Item 23 is city administrator's report.
The only thing I have, Mayor, is to remind folks that tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so we honor all those vets, and all city facilities will be closed. And so those that are getting trash pickup after Thursday will be, or Wednesday, excuse me, will be a day late. And then I'd specifically, on this Zoom call, I'd like to thank Don Deal for his service in the military. Thank you, Don.
My pleasure.
Is that it, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. You said all city facilities will be closed. I believe the rec center is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. But the just about everything else, the bus service is still operating, and it's free for veterans, free fare. And again, I echo Kelly's sentiment about veterans, and thank you for your service. I also want to mention that we're going to have Shredding Day again coming up this Saturday, November 14th. A little bit.
In line behind me.
Yeah, okay, all right. 2 boxes this time.
You should see my boxes.
2 boxes for you, 2 for Jeff, 2 for
2 for Abby, 2 for Molly. 2.
Right. Anyhow, it's this Saturday, shredding from 8 to noon, but it's at the Streets Department building, which is down off of Camp Cardinal Road, 750 Camp Cardinal. As I mentioned, it is limited to 2 boxes. And it's a little bit different in that you'll be dumping your materials into a secure locked container, which is then taken off site and shredded off site. But you can be assured that it will indeed be shredded. I wanted to give a reminder that we are currently soliciting applications to some boards and commissions. Previously, we did one for vacancies on the Board of Adjustment, one position and 1 position on the library. And we received a total of 1 application from that. So that person is still being considered, but we thought we would go out and solicit again because we also have now 2 other routine appointments for 2 more on the library board that would normally be up this time of year. So there's a total of 3, 1 vacant, 2 routine renewals on the library board, that 1 for the Board of Adjustment, and 1 for Civil Service Commission. And if you're interested, you can apply using a form you can find online, but they need to be turned into the city clerk by 5 p.m. December 4th. So I would encourage everyone to think about doing that. And I think that's it. I will move on to the city attorney's report.
I have nothing additional, Kevin.
Nothing.
Okay. Committee and council members report. Lori, would you like to go first?
Our family we have a father and a son-in-law that are veterans, and our son Aaron is a major in the Air Force. So Veterans Day is special in our family, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. And I'm so glad that the memorial is being worked on, and really look forward to the investment that people can make there in honoring their veterans. The Guidelick Center is coming along, and it's an important resource for our police department and residents. And I look forward to meeting soon, probably in December, with Abby Ferrelli, who is the program director, and Matt, who is their project director. Hopefully they'll be speaking with us and be able to give us more information on how that can coordinate with our police department. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. Going across my screen, Jill, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you, Lori, tell your family thank you for their service as well. And thank you to all of the veterans. It seems like it's been almost a lifetime ago that I presented at our work session about COVID and wearing masks. We are at a critical phase. Of course, as everyone knows, the hospitals are in surge protocol, which I never thought I'd see actually happen. So I wanted the council to think. We got an email from Councilwoman Janice Weiner from Iowa City wondering if we should have some more joint meetings that all join together to talk about this. And I did listen in on the webinar today about working, all of us coming together. Didn't really hear any new ideas. So I'm wondering if maybe we should work together and see if we can come up with some new plans, because something has to be done to flatten this curve. It is literally a life and death situation right now. So if you could consider that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Jill, the meeting is scheduled, the joint government meeting. It's this Thursday at 4:30. So.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Next on my screen is Hwen. Hi.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I would like to thank all of the veteran military personnel out there who sacrifice, sometimes their lives to give us the freedom that we are able to enjoy. I myself have, my brother is actually just got promoted to major in the Army, and he's serving with the Oklahoma National Guard, even though he lived in Texas, because for his brand, that's the closest. And so he have to drive there, but it is what it is. He's happy in there. And I want to echo on the mayor and Kelly that tomorrow is Veteran Day. And so our trash pickup for Wednesday and Thursday, people will be a day later. I'm on a Thursday and I always forget and set out my trash on Thursday and then come back from work. It's like, wait, we're not thinking it's pick up. Oh, so yeah, just a friendly reminder so you don't get frustrated. And then, I'm super excited to hear about the Veteran Memorial going. I will be going out there and check it out for sure. I did not even realize that we had something in the work for that. So super duper excited. And again, echo on what Mayor John said, we have opening on our boards and commission, and I would urge a community member to look into it and put in your application. This is your chance as community member to give input so that we can make our city, a better place, and we can serve our community better. And lastly, like Jill just said, I sat on the webinar today for COVID. The number is rising alarmingly. We each need to just do our part. Just wear a mask. That's it. As simple as that. Wear a mask. And that is all I have for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Hi. Mitch, you're next on my screen.
Thank you, Mayor. I got to be honest, when you said to Eric, we'll see you in work session, I thought we were in work session. So, wow, long meeting. No, first of all, I want to say thank you, veterans, as well. Thank you, Don, for your service. I always say I'm here because of a veteran. My mom was born in France, and my grandmother met an American GI at a cafe, and he brought my mom and my grandmother back after the war. So I'm always very thankful for that. Our library board, ironically, was meeting tonight during council meeting, so I couldn't be at both places at once. So I will fill you all in on the routines of the library later. And then I think just, again, to echo what people are saying, the numbers are crazy. I think I can announce, if you don't know, that starting Monday, we're going back to online school in Iowa City. That'll be for the next 2 weeks due to the high numbers of COVID. We're having significant students, staff, teachers who are testing positive or being put into quarantine. So it's very, very a dire situation right now. So please adhere to the guidelines that have been put out there. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan, will you bring us home?
You bet. Thank you. Just also wanted to extend my thanks to all of our veterans, to Don for his service, to Lori and Hi for their family members that serve. My grandfather was a World War II vet. Nick's grandfather was a World War II vet. He was actually captured and held in North Africa for a long time, was a POW there during World War II. So this is obviously Veterans Day, holds a very reflective place in our family. I also want to reiterate what I said at our last meeting, thanking all of the election workers. You know, gosh, was that a week ago that we had our presidential election? Because I think it was a week ago. But that just goes to show how wild of a week it's been. And so I want to thank the Johnson County auditor staff again. They got their results in very quickly. Thank you again to all those poll workers. And of course, thank you so much to the people that actually came out and voted. You know, I think, you know, thinking about Veterans Day, thinking about how precious our freedom is, how precious our elections are. It's all kind of coming full circle. And I know that we have a lot of work to do in our country, but I'm proud that we did see that record turnout. And I am deeply proud of our historic Madam Vice President. And that's just so thrilling to see that ceiling shattered for the first time. And yeah, the only other thing that I have is that I wanted to encourage everybody to go out and check out the new Kiddie Corral Park. Last week we had gorgeous weather. And we had a ribbon cutting at that park. That park is a very special park for me because my children went there, spent a lot of time there when they were very young, and it's just a wonderful upgrade. And so I would, even if you don't have very little ones, it's a facility that is designed for children 18 months to 5 years old. I would just, you know, encourage you to go see it because it is really fantastic. And thank you to Sherry and the Parks and Rec Commission and Parks and Rec staff for putting together such a beautiful new facility. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Thanks for that last mention. I forgot about that. I should have written that one down. Okay. I think I will entertain a motion to adjourn this formal meeting. Moved by.
So moved.
By Foster, seconded by
Second.
Goodrich. I assume all's in favor. Say aye.
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 Okay. Let's take about a minute or two.